Okay, it looks like I am connected, and I am sorry about that delay. Anyway, as a quick heads up for people who don't know, my name is Michael Salati. I happen to be a developer program engineer at Google, and what that means is, well, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure, but I work on the developer relations side at Google here to advocate in the wonderful World Wide Web. And I specifically work on a platform called web.dev. Now, if you haven't heard of web.dev before, it is a fantastic resource and website for anything, uh, web developer related. So here is our site, web.dev. We have a bunch of different content going on. We have blog posts from experts on the field. We have tutorials and guides on different topics like fast load times, building progressive web apps. We also have our measure tool, which allows you to test your website against different key metrics for performance. And we actually provide feedback on how to improve these key things and key aspects of performance, which we actually oftentimes host the content in order to do these things. So I will actually just run our own site, https web.dev, run the audit. And so we have feedback as far as our performance, accessibility, best practices in SEO. A lot of these we do well in, but here, like for the performance, one of the things that we are given feedback to is defer our off-screen images. And so if you click on this, it takes you to a page right on our website where we explain how you can improve that. And these are things that you could test your own sites on. So one thing that I want to do today is take a look at an issue that was actually opened up on this project, because web.dev is actually an open source project where we would love to get help from community members like yourself. So if you go to github.com /Google Chrome /web.dev, you can find the entire code base for the web.dev project. And there is one issue in specific I want to take a look at, which it is this one right over here. So this was reported by another developer engineer, developer advocate here at Google. And so let's take a look at what the bug we have on the website is. So it says when posting a link on Twitter, the quote is stripped from the page title. So if the blog post has the title Understanding Same Site and Same Origin, it's displayed as just Understanding on Twitter. So the HTML might not be escaped. So let's see the Twitter. Okay, so over here it's just saying understanding, and let's take a click into here. So the Twitter card preview just said understanding, but over here we can see the title actually says Understanding Same Site and Same Origin. And the title of the article is also Understanding Same Site and Same Origin. So this is something we can take a look into, and hopefully we can resolve this within the next, we'll see how long it takes. All right, let's get the code up and running here so you guys can see what it looks like. So where am I? All right, let's go into my documents, workspace, web.dev. Let's open this in. Oops. Actually that worked. All right, so we're opening this up in Visual Studio Code. Let's get rid of a bunch of the stuff because we don't need this. And git checkout to the master branch, git pull, so we have the latest code that we can work from. Okay. And now we're going to run web.dev locally. So we just run the command npm run dev. And I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger for the video. Oh, little issue. Okay, it is starting to run. All right, so the site is up and running, and let's see what that looks like over here. So I'm gonna open up localhost 8080. And just because the web.dev website actually uses a service worker to cache things, we are going to inspect. So open up the Chrome DevTools, just because while Chrome DevTools is open, I have disable cache, so service worker shouldn't really get in our way here. And let's check our blog post to find this recent blog post that's causing this title issue. Is it a blog post? Okay, you know what? We can just copy part of that URL here. Same site origin. Same site origin. And let's see. So the title appears right here, but the issue ends up being with the Twitter card. And so for the Twitter card, and there's these specific meta tags that Twitter and Facebook use for the social previews. So if I just check Twitter social meta tags, you can take a look at some of this stuff. So we'll use moz, and hopefully it gives a little explanation on how some of this Twitter stuff works. So here's some of that Twitter things we're looking at. And so there's a tag, the attribute, key name attribute is Twitter title. And so this is probably what we're looking at, which is just saying understanding. So what we're going to do here is I'm actually just going to copy this. I'm going to go back to the same site origin page, and I'm just going to see if I can find that. So what we'll do is document query selector, and the tag we want here is meta. Boom. And so interestingly, you guys can see that this is actually returning null, this query selector for the Twitter title. And this is actually something I kind of expected for the web.dev website. And this has a lot to do with how our service workers works and how pages get dynamically updated and loaded in. So why don't we actually go into the code, see if we can find the page that this exists on, and take a look at that meta information. So we'll search inside the dist folder for an HTML file that has this content. So here we go. Here's the page that we're looking for. And if I scroll down, here is the Twitter title and the meta tag that just has the text understanding. Okay, so it says understanding here, and this also seems to be an issue with the meta prop name. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is an issue elsewhere. Let's take a look. And for the OG, which is Open Graph, which I believe is associated with Facebook. So in a lot of these social tags, it looks like the title is put to just understanding instead of understanding same site and same origin that we see over here. Okay, not the best, but let's take a look inside of the web.dev code to see where this is actually being done. So every page that exists on web.dev actually goes, there's a hierarchical structure as to how pages get composed via various components and elements that we have on the website. So the meta information is set at virtually the top level inside of this layout nunchuck file that we have here. And specifically we have this, and this actually has a lot to do with the static site generator framework we use, which is called 11D. So what we have here, I believe, is a shortcode called meta that takes in a few arguments. And so this meta is actually applying the titles that we see. So let's open up the meta component or shortcode thing that we have here. So here it is, meta component. And this is where our title is actually getting set, somewhere inside of here. So if I scroll down, I see these title, There's a title probably here. Title is here as well. So the title setting getting set in all these places. But what's interesting is the title that appears here is not the title that we are seeing elsewhere. Okay, so let's go back to our layout. So when the layout for the page is being generated, this meta component is called. And the meta component actually it's a function that gets executed where the arguments locale, page, collections, and render data gets passed into. Ignoring a lot of the stuff here, if we scroll towards the very bottom, this is the HTML that gets returned, which is the title, which includes the title, the description, and then we have the canonical metadata, the Google search metadata, the Facebook metadata, and the Twitter specific metadata. And so it looks like the title for all of these, except here, seems to be throwing issues. Now we notice in here for the title that is actually on the page, we call the title from a few different possible places. We do the page data objects title, or the page data path title, or the site title. So we or in a few cases, and if we look in the title that we use for the Twitter card, it's just meta title. So get by platform. So what's this get by platform function? Because it looks like here, for example, in the Twitter, we call get by platform, we give it the platform, and it returns the meta information for that platform. But this title doesn't necessarily have everything that we need. So let's see where this function is. Okay. So this function actually also exists inside of here. And it looks like this get meta by platform. So it's a function that returns the title. So we have social title and social path title here. So the title is assigned here and sent back, but it's just social title, social path title, compared to down here where we have different source for the titles. All right, this is actually odd why we have different titles. Here, I wonder if I can get these two bits side by side so we can see. Get by platform here. And here. So I believe that all right, let's see what the actual title that's supposed to be rendered by the get by meta platform is actually showing. So I'm gonna console log both of the titles here, but the problem is like there's a ton of pages on web.dev. There's like here we go, 531 pages. I don't want to see the title for every single page, so we are going to do a quick check to make sure that this is actually the page that we're looking for. So I will take page URL, which I have here, and we'll just do an if statement. So if page URL dot includes, and we'll take a bit of the title here. So this is the URL for the page, and so we're going to just check if it actually says same site origin. So if the argument page URL includes the text same site origin, then we'll log this. That way we can cut down the 530 different possible titles to hopefully something a little bit smaller. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to kill the server and run it again. Let's see what happens. And errors. Let's try this one more time. Two more times. Okay. That does not seem good. Third time's a charm. Okay, there we go. All right, so the title's seem to be right. Understanding same site and same origin, safe and secure. That's probably the path title bit. So the question then becomes, so it's the strip function that seems to be swapping out the content. I'm going to assume this strip function is doing something here that's removing what actually needs to be here, but it's odd that strip would be removing it only because... Here, I'll run this again in a second. It's odd that strip seems to be removing the quotation marks only because... Actually, I can keep this up here. Because we call the strip function here as well, and the regular title actually seems to include that information. Oh, no. Okay, we ran strip here too, and it still has same site and same origin. Okay, this is getting a little more odd. So strip isn't actually causing our issues here. So here's the title that we assign. In the meta thing, we pass the title back. So over here, this meta title, here, let's drop this in and let's console log meta title. And let's kill this. And this should actually be the title we expect. Okay, so the title being logged here inside of the content is actually the same title here, which honestly now I think I understand what the possible problem is. And I think it has to do with how the template literal is being interpreted. Let's just look at the HTML for the page to see if I'm missing anything obvious. Alright, so let's check out same site, same origin. Same site, same origin. Okay, looking at it just a little bit more closely, it becomes more evident as to what the problem seems to be. So let's take a look at the title. The title for the page looks to be perfectly correct, and you'll see that we just have the title, open quotation, text, close quotation, and open quotation, text, close quotation. But when we look at it, rather than being the content or the text node inside of a DOM element, let me rephrase. Being a text node inside of a DOM element, it appears perfectly correct. But if it exists as the key to an attribute or the value to an attribute, it ends up breaking the content. So here, if I just comment this out, or here, we can see that content is set to understanding space and then quotation mark. And so same site is now considered an attribute of the meta tag rather than part of the same text. So we want to allow this quotation mark to exist inside of the string without it causing to break the value, which we should be able to do by escaping the characters, but I'm not quite sure how that will look inside of a HTML attribute. So if worse comes to worse, we will go to Google. All right, so escape characters in HTML attribute. So escaping characters inside of a HTML attribute value. Stack Overflow is useful. So it looks like it ends up turning the values into these ASCII symbols. Okay. So that's the sort of thing I want to do. So what's like a quotation mark in ASCII? Ah, these are just images. No easy way to search for that here. But, so I would do like, and Octothorpe, was it 39? No, it was 34. So if I did something like here, if I change the meta name here to 34, let's change this one also. Save that. Close. So now this name ends up looking a lot better. And actually, this issue is going to end up being an issue with the descriptions as well. But if we check the page again, here we go. This is just item prop name, so let's apply it to the Twitter content as well. Where is our Twitter title? Okay. Refresh the page. Refresh the page. No, it's not appearing here, but the text itself, like the Twitter title, this actually ends up looking better. This looks appropriate. So, all right, so we need to escape the characters when we end up rendering it out for the meta title. So let's just see if there's an easy way to do this with, let's say, like, what do we use to generate the HTML? So we use comment tags, and I wonder if comment tags will actually offer something for this. Strip indent transformers. Not sure if that's what we need. Let's see if we can do this. Convert characters to ASCII. Let's see if this is the sort of thing we want. So if I do a quotation mark, 0034. I think the biggest issue I'm having here for figuring out how to solve this is I'm not quite sure how I need to phrase my query. Oh, Armuth, I apologize. Amruth, I just see your question. So we use a framework called 11D. 11D is a static site generator driven in JavaScript. So I go to 11d.dev. And this is what we actually end up using. There's a little bit of other stuff going on. So the content itself is generated using 11D and nunchucks and some JavaScript, but we have some items of the website that are actually custom elements written in Polymer. So on the site, like if I, let's say, minimize the size, like this side menu is a custom element in Polymer, and there's other custom elements that we use as well. So it's a mix between, I guess, Polymer and 11D. But now I need to figure out how to phrase my actual query, and I don't necessarily want to install another npm package to do this. So we could put together a quick solution here, which should do the trick. And this will at least validate if what I'm, like the thought process we have is correct. So we can do a replace where we'll replace a double quote with a, what was it? Nope, that wasn't the text that we were looking for. ASCII, nope, wrong one. ASCII tag. Actually, what's... Oh. Oh, is this a thing? Okay, let's try this escape. Actually, let me check MDN. Might be on its way out, but also maybe worth testing to see how this ends up working. Okay. And this actually seems to be a problem with both the title and the description. So I will apply this escape function in both places, kill it, run it, and see how this works. Okay, let's see how this ends up looking here. Okay, that looks right, and the HTML here, not as right. Now we have a function replace show up there. Don't think that's exactly what we were looking for. So maybe that's just a browser specific function and not available in the in a node environment where the site gets generated. It's weird that it shows up that way. Okay, seems to be right here as to what it actually does, but oh, no, because I kept replace over there. That could have been an issue. All right, let's save that. Kill and rerun. So if that runs again, so we have understanding this percentage 20, percentage 22. All right, so this might be the way we want to go, but it's not going to show up here because of the way we have the service worker enabled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable JavaScript on the website for the time being so we can actually test and see how it works. So we're going to go back, refresh, inspect. Let's open up the head. So the title seems right here. Description seems off. Content. This could be problematic. Because now it looks like it is just showing me the actual... Yeah, so now it's just a string with a character, so that's not necessarily going to do it for me. So this starts to become problematic, and I don't know if there's going to be a good solution to this, because I think if I escape it, then it's going to end up looking like... If I try to escape it, I don't think... Because it's a value inside of an attribute, I don't think it'll actually ever appear correctly, versus like if I just took this content and rendered it inside of a text node. What I mean to say is, let's say... I'll try to show you what I mean. So let's say if I, let's create a tag, and we'll call it P, and so we'll be document dot create element, and we'll make it a p tag. And so we'll do a text node. We'll call it t equal document create text node. I believe, so let's post this in here. So this t element is a text node, and let's see if I do p, is it append? Yeah, append child t, so I add that t tag to it. So now if I console log p, no, it still doesn't look correct. Okay, so this escape function is definitely not way to go. But I don't think anything I do necessarily is actually going to provide the desired result. So I think the best method here, and it's not necessarily the prettiest, is that we're going to probably just want to do a replace, where we're going to replace any double quotes with single quotes, because the single quotes shouldn't be confused for the wrapper of the value attribute. So we're going to do this. So we're escaping the single quote here. So here, let's save that information and let's end up rerunning it and see what this looks like. And I think then our content and text or title is going to look a lot better. Okay. Just replace the first one. We need to replace all of them. You can see that here, understanding, and then same site has a single quote here, but it doesn't grab the second one here. So where is that replace? And what we will do here is we'll just do some regex. And we'll replace all of them. So now we will go through this string, we will find every double quote, and we will replace it with a single quote. Okay, and now all of a sudden it actually is complete strings inside of here. So content, understanding, single quote, same site, and single quote, same origin inside of the title here. And this appears everywhere. So now if I go into the page, let's refresh it, and we have JavaScript disabled. Let's query the element content. So document query selector, we get the meta, name, Twitter, and title, content, and the text actually appears the way that it is supposed to be. So this is a solution, and this is a solution that works, but I'm wondering if this could be done any better. So we have this strip function, and I actually think I wrote this strip function a while ago, because I wonder if I can refactor it to do more of what we need to do. All right, so let's check this strip function. Can I click in? Yeah. So what the strip function does here, it was designed to remove backticks from. It was designed to remove backticks from text. So we can change it from, instead of just removing like a single backtick, that maybe we can have it. Well, let me rephrase. It also takes an argument here, additionally forbidden, and that takes an array of string or regex fields where it'll replace that content as well. But it replaces everything with like nothing. So it just removes the character altogether. So instead of removing the character altogether, what might be a good solution is instead of taking just what to remove, it takes objects of what to remove and what to replace it with. And so we can go from there. So I think what that would end up looking like, so here's an example of what a forbidden argument looks like, and it's just the backtick. So we'll make an object, and we will do, what does replace argument take? So search value and replace value. So we'll do the search value is the regex or string rule, and the replace value is going to be what we want to replace the content with. And in this case, we want to replace it with an empty string. And so now if this iterates through the forbidden objects and takes each rule, I would replace with the search value, and it'll replace with the rule dot replace value. And this should work here for these predefined rules that I've forbidden, which is the search value and the replace value. But let's add another rule. And this rule is going to be to, actually, we're not going to define the rule here because I don't want it to necessarily be applied everywhere, but we're going to apply the rule to this additionally forbidden. So here's an example of what a replace rule would look like. And so over here inside of our strip function, and I'm going to apply the strip function to the description as well, we're going to add a new rule here. So here is going to be our new forbidden characters, which will be an array. So all right, so forbidden characters is going to be our definition for what characters or things that we should be replacing inside of our get meta by platforms function. So here we want to remove all double quotes. So this is going to be a global for double quotes inside of a string, and we're going to replace it with a single quote here. And now this forbidden characters can be passed as the second argument to our strip function, which we have defined here. So let's get both of these. And there we go. So now if I save it, let's kill the function and run it again. I'll save here too, real quick. So when it builds again, we will see that instead of doing a replace over here inside of the get meta by platforms function, it'll actually be already the replace will happen here inside of the strip function. So let's see if we can find the page again. Dust English. This is same site, same origin. So LMP, same site, same origin. Here. So here we can see that our double quotes have been replaced with single quotes, which is the sort of thing that we want to see over here. Except this meta description, I need to apply the strip function here as well. So maybe I can apply this forbidden characters at a higher level. So outside of the get meta by platform function, but I can keep it at a top level because it's going to be really applied at a lot of different places. Okay, so this seems to be the right path that we want to go on. The meta title and meta description is being replaced appropriately, but it seems like the description for the just the general description isn't being replaced appropriately. So it's over here that we have an issue. So meta description content. So here we can apply that same strip function. And we'll pass in the second argument of the forbidden characters. And so that should apply the strip to the description in the meta text over here. And I want to just think if there's anything else that we're missing that needs to get done for this to look correct. The only thing really missing here is this params. So this function has some JS doc that defines what the arguments are. And right now we're defining that it expects the second argument for additionally forbidden is expecting an array of string or regex expressions, which is what we saw before here. Before we had forbidden was just a regex expression. And so that's what it was kind of expecting, but we don't necessarily want to do that anymore. We want it to take these objects of what the character that we're going to replace and what we're replacing it with, that search value and replace value. So we are going to redefine this here as an array of objects, and the objects are going to be our search value, which is going to be that string or regex expression, and a replace value, which is going to just be a string. And so we redefine what arguments are expected for this second argument. So now if you hover over it, you can see that it expects an array of search values and replace values as an object. So additional rules to be removed or replaced by, because we're defining what we're going to replace it with. So I believe everything is saved. So I'm going to do an npm run dev again. Okay, there we go. And let's check the page. And now we can see that the description seems right. Single quote, same site and same origin. The Facebook title is understanding single quote, same site, single quote, same origin. As well as that Twitter stuff, understanding same site and same origin. So this seems to be fixed all over. So I am going to get ready to push this up as a fix and create a pull request for this. So right before I do that, I'm just going to run the command npm run lint so we can run the linters against the code base before we create the pull request. And I'm going to let that lint run. I'm just going to... Alright, so this is our code, and we are fixing a bug for 2627. Oh, we had a lint issue. Okay, let's see. JS doc syntax error, the least fun sort of errors to resolve. So line 17, it's the code block. We have an issue in line 26 as well, which is odd. So I'm actually gonna see what ESLint does to fix it. So ESLint dot dash dash fix. And it's probably definitely a way that I defined this bit over here. Okay, so it reformatted a little bit. But the JS doc syntax is a mistake, and I am curious how I actually correctly define this argument. I'm going to check another piece of code that I wrote recently to see if I can figure out what's actually wrong with the syntax. So we have... Let's see, how do I do argument title? Okay, so could be the parentheses around it. And now if I run ESLint, hopefully that shouldn't return any issues. No, still an issue. What am I missing here? So an array, open, close, search value. Okay, so maybe I had to wrap the parentheses around these two different possible arguments, close, close. All right, so let's run npm run lint one more time. I believe that ESLint should pass without any issues this time. Okay, there we go. So we're going to create a branch, get branch, or get checkout, sorry. Get checkout branch. We'll call it fix meta, because it's fixing the meta title stuff. Cool. Let's get add, get commit, and our message is fix meta. Remove double quote from text in text inside in it's inside of attributes, inside of meta attributes, and this fixes specifically GitHub issue 2627. All right, so let's git push. It runs the linters again. And I just realized I did not set the upstream for this branch, so it's going to kick back an error in a second. Oh, is it going to work? It does work. Cool. So let's check out GitHub. We have our branch fix meta Let's compare and create a pull request. All right, so that is the commit message. And so this, like mentioned before, fixes issue 2627. So replaces double quotes in attributes of meta tags using the strip functions. That's possessive. Additional, what's the specific syntax? Additionally forbidden argument. Okay, so strip functions additionally forbidden argument. So that is our pull request. We are going to create the pull request. So this is going to end up getting reviewed by either Sam Thorgood or Rob Dodson. Both of them are engineers on web.dev. This is actually going to go through a bunch of different tests before it can actually get reviewed and merged in. But for the time being, I believe we have a fix up, and hopefully this can be deployed by the end of the day. So I hope this was useful for some of y'all to see how things work on web.dev and going through the code and creating a fix for a simple issue. Hopefully, maybe you guys can do, if you guys feel like contributing to the web.dev code base, we'd love to get help and contributions from you, the community. Thank you all for the time, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye, guys.